Hey, everybody, this is John Scott, former Sharks All Star MVP, and you are listening to another Teal Town USA podcast.
Hey now, boys and girls, what's up? Welcome to episode 118 of the Pucknologists here. God damn, I want to hear the rest of that song. Anyway, I am AJ_Strong on the social media stuff. Joining me tonight, of course, the Mr. Hockey Jerk.
Do I sound more expensive?
Sounds a little crisp, if you will.
A little bit.
A scotch crisp.
A scotch, yes, I do agree.
A scotch. All right, so everybody, don't forget to follow us on social media, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit. We're there on all of them. Check them out at tealtownusa.com. No, that's not right. I think it's just at tealtownusa, but the website is tealtownusa.com. Don't forget, if you ever miss a show, you want to catch it, can't watch it live, but you want to check it out later, find it on all of your favorite podcast platforms. Always on YouTube and everything at tealtownusa.com. So, boys and girls, been a hell of a week. And I don't mean that in a good way. Finally, though, I should note, if you want to support the show, you can use the super chat option there to leave a little tip, but we do prefer the Venmo option at tealtownusa. So, before we get going, we told you on Twitter we were going to answer the question, what if it was purple? Oh, you love to see it.
Okay, I did not see that coming. That's awesome.
And as soon as you see that when it's purple, what's your reaction? Oh! Yeah, buddy.
That's solid.
Love it when Jerk turns on the screen. All right, so any hoodles. What do we got here? That's right. In this episode, we're going to talk about the Sharks having a conscious uncoupling with the Fanatics, the return of Drew Remenda to the Sharks broadcast, share some numbers that are not that great. But first, let's get into the Sharks games this week. There were two, a whopping two. Both of them against Colorado, starting off with a 7-3 loss. The score in this one made it seem a little closer than it actually was. Martin Jones gets pulled for the second time in 8 games. The Sharks, for me, looked good in the first half of this first period. Donato opening the scoring. Then former Shark Donskoy ties it 6 minutes later, and the sound you hear is the wheels flying off. Colorado Avalanche would score 4 more times, including a shorty, before Noah Gregor would score. Couture would get a garbage goal, in the third, ranking about a donut on my goal value scorecard. But prior to this one, how were you feeling? Like, you're going, okay, look, we're coming in. It's going to be 2 against Colorado. Hasn't looked good lately. You're thinking, what at this point, Jerk?
Well, I mean, you look at how the series between the Sharks and Minnesota went. You look to see how the series between the Sharks and St. Louis went, and you're kind of thinking like, okay, those are 2 decent teams, you know what I mean? So I'm thinking, okay, here comes Colorado, another decent team. Maybe if the Sharks get a good start, it's going to be the same thing. I mean, I'm not saying that they would have been guaranteed a win, but at the very least, it may have been a bit closer than 7-3. So it started out really well. Like you said, Ryan Donato continues to be the best forward for the Sharks this season. And then it just sort of all fell apart. I think it was pretty clear about midway through the second period. It's like, yeah, I think you can put this one away. I don't think anything is going to change between now and the end of the game.
Yeah, it was not great, people. It was one that, but we've said it before. Like, everybody shits the bed. We saw Dallas run roughshod on Nashville, win 7-0. Didn't Colorado beat St. Louis 8-0? So it happens. But prior to the second game, Bob Boughner had some things to say, calling out a couple of the big guys on the team.
Yeah, Timo's going back on that line tonight, and yeah, I demand better hockey for them, and that's in all aspects. They got to play a lot heavier in the offensive zone, spend time in the offensive zone, and and be hard to play against. I didn't think they were hard to play against at all last game, and when I say that, I mean protecting pucks and bringing pucks to the net, and spending some time in the ozone, and I think. Kaner left the game for a bit and came back, got fixed up in the trainer's room, and he wasn't 100% last game, but there's no excuse. I think that line knows they have to be better, and for our team to get into games like this and play our best and compete with the teams like Colorado, you need your big boys going.
Yeah, we do need those big boys going, and so far Hurdle and Kane, as of late, that line not producing so much. Started off on fire, and then what happened, as we like to say. The second game, Sharks lock it down a little bit more, but it ends up being a 3-0 loss. You can't blame any of this on the goaltender if you don't score a goal. The Sharks played a much tighter game this time, hold serve for much of the first two periods. If you saw everything on social media, Sasha Shemelevsky was announced to make his NHL debut, but about 30 minutes before the game, the team would announce that there was some issue with the taxi squad paperwork. I don't know, somebody unplugged the fax machine, whatever. Marcus Sorensen would step in, and this ended up being the Kadri show. 3-point night, 2 goals, including the game winner, but the second goal of the game from Burakovsky was maddening. Just slid in the back door with impunity for a tapper. On that one, the Sharks looked like they were practicing their social distancing, I suppose. I mean, jerk. You had to at least said, well, at least they didn't lose 7-3.
Yeah, I mean, it's at least in this game, the Sharks, they didn't allow as many goals, so that's a plus, I guess. But I mean, you look at all the highlights of the Avalanche goals these last 2 games. Teal Town USA on Twitter has got the GIF for every goal. Go check it out. I'm looking at it right now. But you go back and you look, like, at least half of these Avalanche goals happen because there's an Avalanche player just cruising right to the front of the net, totally unimpeded. And I think a smart person would say, 5 guys on one team, 5 guys on the other team. Maybe you just one guy to each guy on the other side. I mean, maybe, but just a situation in this instance with the Burakovsky goal, as you mentioned, and a handful of the Avalanche goals, I believe one of Kadri's 2 as well, where, like I said, you just have somebody by themselves and you kind of, it almost seems like everybody on the ice for the Sharks is kind of all in that same mindset of like, ooh, okay, this guy's really dangerous with the puck. We got to stop him. But the problem with having 2 or 3 guys all with that mindset is the guy they should be watching is wide open. And that's what happened with Burakovsky. And like I said, oh no, you know what? It was both of Brandon Saad's goals in the first game against the Avalanche. So yeah, it's a trend that we don't want to see. And you mentioned as well, Bob Boughner saying the Kane Hurdle line needs to do more. And in that second game, they did even less than the first game, if you can believe it, aside from taking minor penalties.
No doubt. Of note on this one, Kane gets an elbowing call because Kane can't play 2 games consecutively without getting at least a few calls. It was an elbowing call, I'll give you that, but Kadri got a headshot on Meyer. No call, but for me, the bigger thing, no response from the team. Like, no one stepped up. I was a little kind of miffed by that, to be honest. Early in this game, though, EK65 would tip a shot that almost got by Dubnyk. I don't know if he thought he was on the other side of the ice. Donato has an interesting game where he would collide with Belmar, who had to be helped off. Then he draws a tripping call, and after the Sharks lose the ensuing faceoff in the O-zone, Donato would blow by EK65 to save a breakaway shorty chance. Is that why we're putting Donato on the point on that draw, jerk?
I mean,
kid's got some wheels, dude.
I was going to say it makes sense, especially in that situation, on the power play, if you do have a forward who's going to play on the point, you want them to be pretty fleet of foot, to say the least. And so I think by that logic, it makes sense for Donato to be there. But I mean, the fact that Donato blew right by Erik Karlsson, I mean, it's starting to become unsettling at this point.
You can see the look on EK's face. Yeah, go get it, dude. Jesus. An oddity in this game was the amount of doinks off the post by Colorado. They were hitting the pipe harder than Snoop Dogg, bro. If not for the post, this could have been 10-0. And the other thing that we should note as well, Couture and Burns did have a dangerous collision that left Burns kind of doubled over for a bit on the bench, but ended up, being fine. Thank God, because this team right now cannot suffer any injuries whatsoever. But talked about Kane and Hurdle before the game. What did Boughner have to say about them after the game?
I thought Tommy was pretty decent. I mean, to beat teams like this, you need your best players to be the best. And I thought they're okay. Just okay.
That's not a ringing endorsement. I thought they were okay. I need my best players to be my best players. And they were okay. Dude.
Yeah, it's like I said, they in that first game they did very little, and then got challenged to do more in the second game, and they did even less than very little. So not good when the top line and the quote unquote best line gets hit with the just okay. But I'm hoping, and it's kind of a sucky way that it all transpired, but I'm hoping that this time off the Sharks are going to have helps them get their head on straight a bit,
Yeah, no, you're right. Over these two games, the Sharks were outshot 80-51. So again, all the people blaming the goalies ad nauseum. You can't blame the goalie for not scoring a single goal or allowing 30 more shots than you take. And I don't know, maybe scoring a power play goal once in a while. That could help. So anyway, that's kind of those first two games. Now, we had scheduled a special guest to talk a little bit more about this in depth, but evidently their service provider is using servers based in Winnipeg. So onward we go.
Oh, they weren't able to make it?
No. I'm looking here and I'm like, oh, man. Well, so much for that. And I guess Puck Guy didn't throw over some of those extra AOL discs. But anyway. We do have I see a quick comment here that I just want to get to because we are going to talk about it later in the show. Racist fan rocks for, do the Sharks go after Tony DeAngelo?
God, I hope not.
Okay.
I would,
and we're going to leave it there because we're going to talk about him later. All right. So anyway, the Sharks, they're 3-5. All right. We heard a lot at the start of this season that they had a really good camp. And it was of paramount importance to have a good start, particularly with a compacted schedule. And they're currently 3-5. Would you like to know how the Sharks started the previous season when they missed the playoffs? 3-5. Year before, 4-3-1. So, look, let's see. We all know that last season when things went off the rails, the team kind of splintered. Let's see what happens. Jerk, do you think they're catching a break with these two games coming up against Vegas being postponed due to, somebody testing positive for COVID? Do they catch a break that they can actually come home and maybe work on some stuff for a week and stop living out of a suitcase?
Yeah, I think that obviously has a lot to do with it. I mean, kind of like I said, the time off, it gives them some time to kind of reset. More than anything, I was kind of adding it up, checking it out. And dude, they spent 35 days, A, not in their home city, B, in a hotel room. Say what you will about how good or bad this roster is, that's going to weigh on anybody. And I think more than anything, and I think Erik Karlsson may have alluded to it when he spoke with the media, but more than anything, you're in your own bed, you're in your own bathroom and kitchen and, your living room. Logan Couture talked about laying on the couch. It's huge. You know what I mean? I think it's going to, anybody who's in a hotel room for 35 days, it's going to start to wear thin. You're going to get, you're going to start to get sick of the little things, Oh, my Uber Eats driver forgot my fork and you flip a table over, you know what I mean? So it's that kind of stuff that I'm hoping, you get home, have a home cooked meal, sleep in your warm bed, catch up on the DVR. And I'm hoping, like I said, I'm hoping it helps them get things back on track, say, okay, we're finally home. We have to go out on the road again, yes, but at least we're home. We get a break. At least it's a situation where they're not going to be on the road for like 55 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. Let's get into some stats here. And this, man, does this say a lot. The first 3 games of the season, power play 45%. Now, most people are going to go, unsustainable. Thank you. 5 for 11. Yeah, that's fantastic. The PK at the same time, 8 for 10. Yet during that stretch, they only won 1 of those 3 games. Kind of interesting. The next 5 games, though, wow, did it bottom out. 1 for 23, 4% on the power play. The PK actually improved slightly, 18 for 21 to 86%. 2 and 3 on that. So still a losing record. Overall, 6 for 34, good for 18% on the power play, 84% on the kill. And right now, their standings, they are 18th in the league for the power play, 8th on the PK. And last week, those numbers were better both ways. A week ago, they were 13th and 6th. So the big thing that everybody, of course, is talking about is the power play, or the lack thereof. Let's go back to Boughner one more time to hear his take on what's going on.
First of all, we're losing draws on the power play, so we're chasing pucks down the ice, and then get in, we get set up, and we get a shot, and no retrieval. They get it back down. So now you've gone up and down the ice twice, and you don't have any gas. I mean, we gotta win more draws on the power play. They sniffed out a couple of our entries. We made a change between the first and second, but we never got to use it. We never got a power play after that. So, it's got to be better for sure. I mean, we switched units up, we switched the look up, but it's definitely got to get better, and something we need to work on.
So there's obviously things that need to be worked on. Clearly, Boughner is all about winning faceoffs in the offensive zone. I think that's one of the reasons why you don't see Gregor in the dot anymore, because he was dying. It's one of the things that Hurdle has actually done well so far. But they got to come up with those pucks. I mean, that if you want to be a possession team, that's it. The other thing, Jerk, Boughner brought it up a while back. Let's split up Burns and Carlson on those units, and then he's failed to do so.
Ugh. Don't remind me. Like, I talked about it on Twitter, and I think I even talked about it on the podcast last week. But like, if you want to have, Burns and Carlson run the power play, and like that's totally fine. That's how it should be. But if you want to put them out there together, you have to remind them that they are only 2 of 5 players on the ice. Like, it's frustrating when you have Carlson up top and you've got Burns on the left side, and they're just going back and forth to one another. And it's like, okay, I can't be the only one who sees Logan Couture with his stick pointed to the ceiling waiting for a pass that's never going to come. Like, it's just like, and again, if you want to load it up, again, I'm all for it. They're very dynamic offensive players, but there's 5 guys on the ice, not 2.
As Daryl Sutter likes to say, 5 guys. 5 guys.
Sure.
It's my favorite story. Can you bring up Anaheim's schedule? Because we have a comment here from Alex Chu. Do you guys feel confident against Anaheim or no? Now, you would.
Can I interrupt you?
Go ahead.
Yes.
But
so
didn't Anaheim? I thought Anaheim, like, that's why I asked you to bring up their schedule so far of who they played. Didn't they like do a pretty handed job against like St. Louis or somebody? Or did they hand like Vegas their 1 loss or something?
No, they.
What am I thinking of?
Well, so let me run it down for you. So Anaheim has played, let's see, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. They're playing their 10th game tonight. Okay. They've only won 3 games out of those 10.
But who did they beat?
They beat Minnesota 1-0. They beat Arizona 1-0. and they beat Colorado 3-1.
Okay, so they beat Colorado.
Yes,
So,
but as we talked about earlier, every team has a bad night.
yeah.
But the reason why I have confidence with the Anaheim Ducks, and again, I'm kind of new to this whole hockey thing, but if you're listening live, the Ducks, they played St. Louis last night, and St. Louis was up 3-0. I believe less than 5 minutes into the first period. That doesn't seem very good. Again, I'm kind of new, but that doesn't sound good. And they ended up losing 6-1 last night. Again, if you're listening live right now, they are playing and they're losing 4-1.
Jesus.
So against the Blues, a combined 10-2 for those of you who are fancy of mathematics.
Well, speaking of more numbers, let's get into the goalie stats for a minute since everybody likes to dump on our goalies. Jones right now, not good. 391 goals against, 870 save percentage. Dubnyk, on the other hand, not too much better. 323 goals against, a 902. So at least he's over the 900 mark. And his last couple of starts have actually been solid. He's put up good numbers. Again, we talk about that game against Colorado. Dubnyk was solid through 2.5 periods. And if the Sharks can, I don't know, score a goal, maybe it's a different game. And Dubnyk can help lock it down a little bit more. But when you lose 3-0, like you can sit there and try to throw some of the blame on your goalie, but it's like there's a big fat donut on the board, and he had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, Dubnyk is playing very well for a goalie who doesn't have a win this year.
Jeez,
and
insane.
And I don't donut and 3. But I don't really blame Dubnyk for that. Like you talked about, the Sharks they're not scoring goals for him, and it just seems to me like some of these close losses, I feel as though could have been closer, or maybe even wins if the power play for the Sharks was just like average, or even below average. But it's like astronomically terrible right now.
Well, what's even more terrible is the period scoring. The Sharks right now doing fine in the first. They've outscored their competition 9-7. The second period, they're getting absolutely destroyed, 14-5. The third period, not much better, 10-6. Also take into account that second period, it includes giving up a shorty as well. So, look, let's get into the standings. All right, the Sharks, they're currently in the basement, just like they finished off the season last year, but they're currently in the basement with a -9 goal differential, sitting 29th in the league. Their goal differential is only better than Ottawa and Detroit. I do believe Ottawa is playing right now, and I do believe they are losing by a couple of goals. Detroit lost earlier today. Right now, a combined record between those two squads of 3-13-3.
Oh, fuck. That is not good.
No, it is not.
Ottawa currently losing 6-3 to the Edmonton Oilers. There's your score update.
There you go. So, look, what's the silver lining you can take from all this? The Sharks have their number 1 pick in the upcoming draft.
Goddamn, dude.
At least until Wilson trades it to Seattle, so they'll take Burns. Dude, you know it's coming.
I would hope that he's not that inept.
You never know. Oh, and I'm bummed. We're talking about the Senators, and I don't have my Ottawa sounder. But anyway. So let's talk about who's hot and who's not. If you watched the show last week, this might sound a little bit of a repeat. On the hot list right now, Donato, Gregor, and Gambrell, yet again. Donato, I think the small sample size, things get skewed, blah, blah, blah. So if you just watch the first 3 games, you're going, Jesus Christ, Kane and Hurdle just look phenomenal. Well, and then what happened? So far, Ryan Donato, even the coach saying probably our best player so far over these 8 games. Logan Couture saying he doesn't think that Donato's had a bad game so far. Jerk. I mean, dude, you haven't been able to shut up about Donato.
No,
and
he's
Gambrell as of late.
Yeah, well, Donato, he, at least to me, I know there were some people who were a bit wary about giving up a third-round pick, which, again, reminder, shout out to Gen X, draft picks are magic beans.
Mm-hmm.
They are useless until the pick is made. Anyway, yeah, Donato's come as advertised so far. I mean, he's, kind of got dropped down in the lineup a bit, but you know what? He's battled his way back up to the Couture line. You're the only one. Just kidding. We miss Puck Guy.
Yeah. You kind of fumbled that comment. Go ahead.
He's just continually, he's just working his ass off. It seems like every time he's on the ice, he's got the puck. If he doesn't have it, he's working for it. At last check, he leads the Sharks in goals right now. So that's obviously encouraging when you consider that he had a bit of a struggle with last season. And then Gambrell, how many times have I been saying it where I feel like I'm his last fan? But you know what? Since he's come back into the lineup, how many ever games ago it was, 3 or 4 games ago, he's been just, very calm, very sturdy in that third line center position. And it's almost kind of like, yeah, okay, you can scratch me, but you're not going to like it. And, same thing. He's same as Donato, he's working hard for pucks. He's got that energy and that oomph in his step, when he's skating. He's been much more physical than in years past, which is nice. He's doing very well on the faceoff circle. So it's always encouraging when a player has things they need to work on, and then they come into the next season and you realize, hey, they worked on it. So kind of hard to, even though, as you said, 2 weeks in a row, our hot list is exactly the same. But I think if you had anybody else there, I would call your integrity into question.
Well, there's a couple other names I got on here under the hot list. LeBanc, 3 points in 5 games. He didn't start off great, but again, 3 points in 5 games, which is more than you can say for the vast majority of this team right now. The other one, of course, that we mentioned earlier, Devin Dubnyk, a 926, then followed with a 913 or a 913 as he comes in to relieve Jones after he got pulled in that first game against Colorado, and then a 921 against Colorado in the second match. That's a 920 average over those 3 games, and as Jerk pointed out, still winless. So yikes. Devin Bach in the chat room. Hold on for a hot second. Oh, let's dial this in. Devin Bach saying, Golden Knights have both good goalies. I wish we had Patrick Kane as a Knight. Your guys' team is really good with us. It's a good battle. I love rivalries.
Who doesn't?
Hey, now. I'm sorry, you were saying?
I was just going to say, and again, correct me if I'm wrong. I'll have to double check here, but I believe that in the 2 games that Devin Dubnyk has come into relief for Martin Jones, he's not allowed a goal in either.
I believe that's incorrect. I believe.
Okay. Well, I know the first one he did. The first game he came into relief, he didn't allow a goal. I know that.
That is correct. But I believe when he came in Colorado, if memory serves, he let in a couple. I think Jones got pulled out when it was, after Colorado put up 5.
Hey, you know what?
Well, he had to have let in a couple because he got a 913. Had he been perfect, it'd be 1,000. So.
Well, 2 is better than 5.
What are we talking about? Anyway, on the not list, the not hot list, the NHL's most dangerous defense. And I don't mean that in a good way. Let's run it down, people. EK65 has been a dash. That means minus. In half the game so far, he has yet to be a plus player in any of the games. Vlasic has been a dash in half the games, only a plus in the very first game that the Sharks played. And Burns has been a dash in half the games, but he does have 2 with a plus. Now, let's move to the forwards. EK9, 2 points for Evander in the last 7 games, yet 10 penalties, or what most people would refer to as an entire period spent in the penalty box. Logan Couture, 2 points in the last 5. Meyer, 2 points in the last 5. Tomas Hertl, 1 point in the last 5 games. Jerk, let me just say this to you.
Oh, fuck. That is not good.
Yeah, it's really not. kind of like what I was saying. Aside from Donato and Gambrell and LeBanc, I don't really think anybody else deserves or has earned any compliments because I mean, I'm just speechless. As you mentioned earlier, Bob Boughner, he said he needed more from the big guys, and the big guys have not brought that more that he's looking for. And don't get me wrong, I love Evander Kane. I think he's a hell of a goal scorer, but dude, you can't score goals from the penalty box. I know. I checked, and you can't. I went to the local rink here in Las Vegas. I tried, and you cannot score from the penalty box. I tried. It doesn't work.
Oh, my God. Well, you know what? For funsies, just for funsies, and I see we have a comment here, which, of course, I loves it, from Gavin Morrison. Yo, when are we going to accept that EK65 was a waste of money? For funsies, let's just compare, shall we? Currently playing his 10th game for Colorado. I'm not sure if that game has ended just yet. I don't believe it has, but Jerk will correct me after I'm finished with this. Jonas Donskoy right now has 4 goals. Okay? Four goals, and I believe...
He actually scored tonight, so he's got 5.
No. I included that one. So
NHL.com says 5. So
really, okay. I mean, you then fine. That's fine. So 5 goals in 10 games, then, right?
Solid.
That includes 2 goals to begin scoring. It includes, and one of those came on a power play. It includes a tying goal, which came against San Jose, and a game-winning goal. So what I would refer to as high-value goals. Also,
and sorry to interrupt. Donskoy's goal tonight actually opened the scoring.
Yes, no, I included that. 2
Okay,
opening
cool.
goals.
Yep.
So you factored that in. Chief has 8 points right now when you throw in the 3 apples and a +3. Every game that he's had a point in has been a win for the Avalanche. His average time on ice has been just over 13 minutes. Now let's take that a step further. Since Dallas started their season late because of COVID and everything like that, they've only played 5 games. Pavelski, in their first 5 games, has points in all 5. Now, they did play today, so that would crank it up to 6, and Pavelski did not have a point in tonight. It's the first game so far that Dallas has played that he did not have a point in. But through the first 5 goals, 5 assists. That's right, 8. He was averaging 2 points a game, a +4. Of his 5 goals, 2 were game winners, 1 was an opener. Again, high value. 4 of those games was a win. His average time on ice, just over 20 minutes. Conversely, EK65 so far has 3 assists, 2 of those 3 coming in losses, and he leads the team with a -8, while his average time on ice is about 27 minutes.
So, quick question for you about Donskoy and Pavelski.
Yes, sir.
Actually, I have 2 questions for you. So here's the first one. Regarding Donskoy and Pavelski, is that good? I think it might be. As I said, I'm new to this sport. And then secondly, you love, you talk about how, to keep Erik Karlsson, the second line of Joe Pavelski, Jonas Donskoy, and Gus Nyquist was sacrificed to the free agent gods. What's Nyquist done this year, since you mentioned Pavelski and Donskoy?
Well, unfortunately, he has 0 points. Would you like to know why?
Sure. Why don't you tell me?
Because he had shoulder surgery a couple months ago and hasn't played a single game.
Oh, good to know. Hey, you know what though? 0 and 0. I mean, he's consistent.
Just saying. Dear Lord. All right. So that will end our segment entitled
What you got there, numbers?
So let's move on here. We kind of mentioned it earlier, but announced on Friday, the games set against Vegas on February 1st and the 3rd have been postponed. Schedule makers will have their hands full based on Vegas's schedule. If you look at the Sharks calendar, there's a couple spots in there where they've got like a little 5-day break in February, a little 5-day break in March, a little 5-day in April. For some reason, Vegas doesn't have any of that. So the schedule makers, I bid you good luck. But we should hear something about that tomorrow, I would expect. On a similar note, a game between the Barracuda and the Silver Knights ended after the second period last night due to a positive COVID test by a CUDA player. So, dear Lord, let's get these boys tested. The Sharks did end up returning to San Jose, though, after those games were postponed. Kind of pushed on the NHLPA a little bit and kind of we kind of greased the wheels, if you will. But anyway, boys returned home yesterday, hit the ice this morning. Here is Erik Karlsson talking about practice from this morning.
No, I mean, I think it's a work in progress. I think we had a good plan going into the season, but with everything going on, playing the same teams, I think that after 8 games now, I think that we can reevaluate, the way that we play and the things that we do well and the things that we don't do so well. So, hopefully we're going to make some smaller adjustments here now and watch some tape and see what works and see what doesn't and start feeling good about ourselves again, because I don't think that, we've played as good of a hockey as we would have liked to. I think we're a much better team. But at the same time, we got to realize that, we got to work hard on it and we got to make a few changes in our individual game and in our team game. And I think that this gives us a good opportunity after 8 games here now to do that at home.
Now, this is not a slam on EK, but there was a lot of cliches in that answer. And that's what you're going to get from the vast majority of NHL players. It's going to be very cliche, just kind of, I think we're doing, we have a good team here, blah, 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 platitude, blah, 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 blah. The proof is in the pudding. Again, use this opportunity for these canceled game, or I should say postponed games. Use this opportunity to work on stuff. Perhaps the power play, for one. I mean, sound like a plan, jerk?
Yeah, I think working on the power play would be nice.
Maybe splitting Burns and Karlsson on the power play while they're working on it?
Yeah, work on not taking penalties, work on helping out your goaltender. I mean, the list is long, to say the least.
You're right. On January 25th, the Santa Clara County did lift restrictions. So they say the Sharks can now play games at SAP Center, quote unquote, if they're adhering to the new directive. That sounds very Hunger Games to me, but remains to be seen. Anyway, looks like the Sharks can count on February 13th being their first game at SAP. We'll see if that game perhaps involves wearing a reverse retro or a heritage jersey. We'll get into that in a hot second. Now, this is something I had for Jerk. On the 27th of this month, Doug Wilson announced on the 27th, he announced that the club completed 2 trades to bring in right shot defenseman Christian Jaros. Did I get that right?
You're correct.
All right. In the first trade, the Sharks sent Trevor Carrick to the Ducks in exchange for Jack Kopaka. I was halfway there. In the second trade, they sent Kopaka and San Jose's 7th rounder in the 2022 draft to the Senators. Jesus Christ. Can we stop making deals with the Senators? Anyway, what does this mean for Knizhov? Also, it should be noticed Middleton was waived just prior to this transaction. So, Jerk, your take on all of that. It's not as if everybody in the NHL doesn't know that the Sharks have 3 right-handers on defense, and their names are Burns, Karlsson, and Merkley. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, what's funny is I was kind of looking at the trades, and so I say, okay, Trevor Carrick for Jack Kopaka, and I'm like, well, could have stopped there, honestly. Jack Kopaka, he's not hit as I guess as much as I thought he would have, but he's still a very interesting forward prospect. So I don't think it would have been totally ridiculous if the Sharks had kept him, but the Sharks have a lot of forwards. So they were smart to get him and a 7th-round pick, which, as we know, the Sharks will probably stumble their way onto another 7th-round pick between now and then, so I'm not too worried about that. For Christian Jaros, and, Jaros, I mean, again, it's not somebody who's going to blow you away or anything, but he's a very reliable bottom pairing defenseman. He's played, I believe, 76 NHL games, so it's not like he's brand new to this whole thing. I think it's a solid pickup. He's a guy who can play with Šimek, and if he doesn't work out, you know what? Taxi Squad, Barracuda. I mean, the Barracuda were abysmal defensively last year, so at worst, they will get much more help if it doesn't work out in the NHL for him.
You right. Let's hit up a couple things in the chat real fast here. What is this? La Omen Shoops? You guys need to really come up with some better names that I can pronounce. Come on. Are they still selling that SJ Fire t-shirt? Yes. As far as I know, you can pick up one of these bad boys, and the back of it looks 10 times better than the front, by the way. But yes, you can
there are limited sizes available, but yeah.
sjteamshop.com, which we will get to talking about them here in a hot minute, by the way. From our buddy Kevin Lacey, EK65 scored most of his goals with Ottawa from the left point on the power play. The Sharks have not once deployed him from that side. Jerk.
It's as if he
what
is
had
not
happened
in a
was
position to do his best. No, well, you know what? I did actually notice that something similar to that Kevin is mentioning, because if you go back and you look at Erik Karlsson, his time in Ottawa, I'll just roll through it really quick. 5 goals and then 13 goals. It's okay, low numbers for him. But then 19, he only had 6 in an injured year, but then 20, 21, 16, 17. So Chief puts up a lot of goals and a lot of shots on net to go with it. In his years in San Jose, first year he had 3 goals. Last year he had 6 goals. This year he has 0. He's also taking a significantly less amount of shots than he was when he was on Ottawa. And
I think we can both agree that I've noticed him this season so far passing way more than I would expect.
Yeah, and he's doing the drop pass in the neutral zone on the power play. He's always looking for the pass, and I'm like, I think to myself, I'm like, when he was in Ottawa, regularly flirted with 20 goals. Like, he's got a good shot. I don't know why he's not using it.
Blame the coaches.
Yeah, probably, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm looking at looking at our views and our thumbs up right now. Come on. We can have a few more thumbs up than that, can't we? But while you're here, do us a favor. Remember to subscribe. So prior to the second game versus Colorado, earlier in that day, Regional Sports Network, NBCSN, tweeted out that one Mr. Drew Remenda, friend of the show, he would join their pregame show. It would have been tomorrow night versus Vegas, so I guess that's going to be postponed. But how interesting is this? For those of you who don't know the history, after the 2014, his contract was not renewed by the Sharks. He told us directly, and you can go back and look at our channels, any number of our interviews with Drew, but one of them, there's a best of, and he talks about why he believed that he wasn't renewed. And it was the case of the team owner, Hasso Plattner, was watching the team in Germany, and he's listening to the broadcast, and he's going, hey, why is this guy that I'm paying dumping all over my team? And Drew, to his credit, has one of the best quotes of all time. I hope I'm getting it right. This might be a paraphrase, but it's essentially, how can I praise the team with any credibility if I'm not allowed to critique them honestly? And that's so perfect. But for some reason, Hasso said, you know what? I don't want him here anymore. I'm tired of hearing him dump on the team. So Drew, of course, did Edmonton since then, but a couple months ago, I want to say, it came out that Drew's contract was not renewed. And of course, that led to a lot of people saying, is he coming back? Bring back Drew. Bring back Drew. I'm in that boat, by the way. I'm driving the bus on that. Absolutely bring back Drew. Hetty, I think, is fine. I don't think he has the chemistry with Randy. Not at all. I'm not the biggest fan of Hetty. Again, nice, a super duper nice guy, but a lot of times I'll hear him say something on a broadcast and I'm like, what? One of my favorites was these guys have to decide, do they want to get their butts kicked or do they want to be a kick butter?
I mean, who doesn't?
I think you mean butt kicker, but okay. Or what was there was another great one that Hetty had where he's just like, yeah, he was unable to execute there because he just ran out of gas, but if you don't run out of gas there, you can probably execute that. And it's just like, really, dude? Anyway, despite being a massive fan favorite, he wasn't renewed. A lot of people, a lot of fans. I would put it to just about anybody. Find me a color guy who has been gone from a team for 6 years, and still there is a large audience that would love to have him back. So I don't know. How odd is this that he's going to be joining the pregame for a spot? And, if you're not going to bring him back with Randy, which is what the majority of the fans want, like, why are you tickling our ass with a feather? You know what I mean? Like, I can't wait to hear Drew back talking about the Sharks, and his rapport with Brody is superlative, but we all know for the most, we'd rather hear him on the call. Jerk, I mean, is this a trial run? Do you think that maybe this leads to something, that maybe he does in fact return? Because in my last talk with him a couple weeks ago, he was like, it would take him about 5 seconds to pack his bags and he'd be here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a smart play by NBC. I think they've obviously read the terrain. They know how well liked Drew Remenda is and how much he is a draw for Sharks fans. And I think, I'm not gonna say anything super specific, but I know for me, I'm not really a viewer of pre-game or post-game or intermission live. It's just not something that I would, not something I watch, but I think getting Drew Remenda on, somebody who is as beloved and enjoyed by Sharks fans, I think that would get eyes on their product. So I think it's a smart play. As for if it's a trial run to come back to the broadcast, I mean, I'm not going to say no, but I'd be very surprised if it was, just because of the circumstances and the politics of it all that you kind of mentioned earlier.
Yeah. I'm going to be interested to see what comes of this. It might also work really well too, since because we're in COVID or whatnot. Like, as far as I know, like, I don't think Canadians can cross the border right now. So I'm going to be real interested to see how he shows up on the broadcast. It should be a lot of fun. Again, it makes me kind of bummed that there's no games this for the next few days, since he was scheduled to be on before that Vegas game. So look, follow them on Twitter. NBCS Sharks, I think, is their Twitter, and I'm sure that they're going to have an update at some point, but I look forward to it. Speaking of announcements, we're still waiting on an announcement, by the way, for when the Sharks are going to finally release their schedule for when they plan to rock the reverse retro jerseys words, I know words, as well as their heritage. I believe a schedule should be coming out this week, especially since they now know that the first game at SAP will be on February 13th. The Coyotes, however, did release their retro reverse schedule earlier today, and March 27th is marked down that they're going to be wearing them against the Sharks. So that's at least one game that we know that the Sharks will be rocking the retro or the reverse retro, whatever the hell they're called.
the new jerseys.
The new gray ones. Jeez. Ay. All right. Let's move on to our exclusive. The stuff that you've been waiting for us to talk about forever. Last Tuesday, I dropped the news from an exclusive interview with Sharks VP Doug Bentz. Fanatics is no longer running the Sharks store at SAP or the kiosks around the concourse and on the club level during games. For those of you who don't know, this ended an 8-year deal 4 years early, kind of further proving that the Sharks are not having a good luck signing 8-year deals. The selection on Fanatics, NHLshop.com, that shouldn't change. But SJ Team Shop you should start seeing items that you're unable to find anywhere else unless you like live local to San Jose. So I mean, how great is this, Jerk? I mean, I love it when a place runs their own stuff, because they're going to be, if you go and listen to our interview with Doug Bentz, I mean, he's talking about that they're going to just invoke a lot of cool new designs. They're going to be working with local designers. They might even reach out to fans. They could hold a contest that says, hey, show us some of your best designs. Maybe we can use them. How awesome is this going to be, man?
You know, I've taken the last week or so, or whenever the announcement was made, to prepare a statement. It's one word. Bye. Now, and you know what? We're not gonna. It is not our play here. No disparaging comments, nothing of that nature. But I'm just saying, I think long term, I think this will be much more beneficial and helpful and good for the Sharks. So I'm happy. You know, you're happy that we'll kind of see a refresh on everything, I'm sure. And I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there right now. Puck guy, fire up the Photoshop.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to going back into the Shark store at SAP and not seeing 7 different shades of teal, like one consistent color.
You're being nice. It's much more than 7.
Well, I was trying. But either way, I look forward to seeing what they come up with. We've already seen things like Sharks Freak and Open Water and some of those kind of cool designs. I look forward to seeing maybe a little bit more return to like the Chomp font or their original watermark and word mark. If you look at just some of the artwork that the Sharks have delivered over the kind of like last 8 months or something, you've seen this kind of tilt back towards the 90s. It seems, Jerk, is it just me, or is like the entire NHL like having like 90s fever right now?
Yeah, well, I think
in particularly the shirt that you're wearing.
Well, and I think, you know, we've now seen this. Let's see. Arizona, as you mentioned, Buffalo, Ottawa, Calgary, Anaheim, you know. So it's almost as if the decision makers are finally seeing the light and realizing that, you know, the logos and designs that were birthed in the 90s are some of the best.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. You know what I mean? I think when you look at like where things kind of went, you know, around 2008 with Reebok Edge and everything like that, I sort of think that, I don't know, the NHL kind of strayed away from the cool or interesting design and everything was much more similar. You know, it was like, yeah, we got the Edge template, you know, it's got shoulder caps and front numbers and those weird lines on the side. And so I think with Adidas, you know, we're starting to see some individualism come back and some, as you said, a throwback to the 90s. So I'm all for it. I say keep it up. You know, I think they should do a reverse retro every year, and every year it's different.
It's not like they wouldn't sell. Although Adidas, you need to get on your you need to work on your authentic, your quote unquote authentic replica game a little bit, because like another 3 years and like your jersey's going to be made of tissue paper or something. They're getting a little too thin. I want something closer to what the boys wear on the ice, not less so. But anyway.
Make Made in Canada's available for retail, you cowards.
That's right. Oh my God.
You should do that.
That's what I'm saying.
Here's the thing. Let's not get too much into it, but I'm just saying, Made in Canada's, those are probably valued, like retail value, probably double what the Indo Authentics cost. I guarantee you, if not more, correct. I guarantee you, 9 out of 10 jersey collectors, maybe 10 out of 10 jersey collectors are like, don't care, give it to me right now. Just saying.
All right.
Do you like money?
Oh, I loves me some cash.
And you know this, man.
All right, let's take it around the NHL here a little bit. And so Wayne Gretzky turned 60, everybody, and hockey Twitter went ape shit. There you go.
Who cares?
You know how the Sharks seem to have a black jersey curse? Well, clad in their all-new blackout alternate, the Stars scored 7 goals. So maybe it's just a Sharks problem. I don't know. The NHL Network is going to produce live game broadcasts for the first time in channel history. The 16-game weekend slate is going to start next Saturday with the Devils hosting the Rangers, and it's going to feature early afternoon games typically starting between 10 and noon Pacific on Saturdays and Sundays. 19 teams are on the schedule, with the Devils and Bruins both appearing 4 times. Big shocker. The remaining 11-game broadcasts will come out at some point. That's to be announced, but hey, it's just one more network to watch hockey on. You love to see it, yay?
I do love to see it because I am a big fan of making the NHL available for as many people as possible.
And you've seen some games already produced by them, and they've been solid, right?
Yeah, the NHL Network, they usually have their own crew for the World Juniors every December.
If I remember correctly, like Mike Rupp and Kevin Weeks, there's going to be some good names involved with this.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't know. My one kind of concern, if you will, is that the NHL Network is a channel that's not available to everybody.
Yes, that is a problem. You got to be on a higher tier with some providers, unfortunately.
I mean, there are alternatives, but we're not going to get into that here. If you want to know, there may be a certain server that might fill you in.
Arr, I think you're right.
Ahoy!
Finally. Oh boy. Okay, I might just like drop this little nugget and then like go just have a smoke. The Rangers have waived Tony DeAngelo. And here we go. Excuse me.
So I'm not really a religious person, but God is good. And we're not. I don't want to get into the reasons, the political implications, but there have been some things in that arena that Tony DeAngelo has been on the wrong side of, unfortunately. And I hate to pull this card, but aside from all that, he is a decent hockey player. That's not a big secret.
Not this season, but okay.
No, but the point I'm trying to make is that you could be super talented, but if you've got a suspect off-ice persona, it's not going to matter, and he was drafted by Tampa Bay and shipped off to Arizona because of issues related to that. Shipped off to New York in the Derek Stepan trade a couple of years ago for the same thing. He was also suspended twice in the OHL for using a racial slur, and also suspended once in the OHL and once, I believe, in the NHL for abusive official. So he's clearly got a checkered past, to say the least. If you follow Drew Weber on Twitter, he loves to remind everybody how Sebastian Aho walked Tony DeAngelo in the bubble last summer. So that's always fun. But it all came to a head, and some of this is confirmed, some of it's not. You can read the full story on The Athletic if you do have the subscription. If you don't, I say get it. No free ads, but it's worth it. Well, so basically, there was a miscommunication on an OT goal, and DeAngelo and Alexander Georgiev, the Rangers goalie, they got into it. That's the confirmed part, was that they had a scuffle.
Yeah, but what's the rumor?
The unconfirmed part is that Chris Kreider was done with Tony DeAngelo's crap and gave him the old right in the face. Gave him a solid knuckle sandwich. So that's obviously still unconfirmed. I think there's a lot of people out there who wish it was confirmed.
Sounds like you're one of them.
Yeah, and and just some of the things he said. I don't want to get into the politics of it all, but there's a certain other social media app that starts with the letter P that he's made his thoughts very clear on. But the Rangers head coach David Quinn, he basically said, this wasn't based on one thing. This was sort of the coup de grace, if you will, of a number of things. And so we'll see. I'd be very surprised if anybody claimed him off waivers just because of his off-ice persona that I mentioned. But is this also the NHL? And so I'm sure there's one team who's like, well, yeah, but you know what? He can move the puck 25 minutes a night. So we'll find out tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
There's always somebody out there that's just kind of like, oh, we can fix him.
Boston. Whoa, excuse me.
No, there's always that one person, it's almost like it's like a relationship, it's like, that guy's an asshole. You shouldn't go out with him, girl. He is just a tool and blah, blah, blah. And there's always that one girl that goes, no, he's just misunderstood. I can fix it. It's like the same thing, man. I'm telling you. Oy, oy, oy.
I think the funny situation, or the funny thing about this whole situation is that there is evidently a Twitter account that is, this is the NYR fan 923602444.
Dear Lord.
It's been on Twitter for less than a month. And this person created this Twitter account because they are sick of people ripping on Tony DeAngelo. And this is what he said, his pinned tweet. For the record, since for some reason people keep saying this, I am not Tony DeAngelo, somebody who's just sick of him being criticized by people who know nothing about the game of hockey. Now, I would love if somebody cared about my name enough to make a Twitter in defense of it, but not happening. So I'm just saying, I'm 99% sure this is Tony DeAngelo. So is everybody else on Twitter. They're giving it to him hardcore. One funny thing I saw was somebody right-clicked his Twitter and clicked view page source and then screened the code and sent it to him and was like, bro, I hacked you. I know it's you. And so it's been fun. Again, if you need a good laugh, I say check out this Twitter. Again, you got to be careful with this kind of stuff, but it's just funny that somebody is like, this is not me. I'm not him. I just really care about him. And it's like, but people aren't like that.
Methinks doth protest too much.
Dude, you're one of my OG people, but I don't think I would make a Twitter account just to defend your name. Like, that's just not something people do.
But there is a fantastic Twitter account out there called Fanatics Sucks.
I'm going to say it again, dude. I'm still not sure how that's not you.
Solid account, dude. I wish I would have thought about that. Solid account, holding Fanatics accountable until they are no more, or at the very least, no longer a goddamn monopoly. I'm just saying. So let's move on to the back end of the show here. Oh, look at that. Boom. Kind of our, I guess, you call it the play of the week, but I want to say the comment of the week. And this has just become a running thing over the last couple of shows, and I just get the biggest charge out of it. This is going to be my jerk segment from here until the end of time. Look, Sharks fan Facebook, God love you. But, dear Lord, there are some people on there that I don't know what you're thinking. I just don't get it. And maybe sometimes it's one of those things where it's like, maybe what's the old phrase? I'm sure somebody in the chat can throw it up there. It's an old comment that it's something like, better to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt.
Solid phrase.
Right? So the comment of the week from the Sharks fan Facebook page. You ready, jerk? Here we go.
As ready as I can be.
All right. This is why we should have terminated Jones's contract, stuck with Dell, and recruited an upcoming new goalie. Jones is past his prime, and Dubnyk is past his prime too. Offense and defense is solid, but we need to trade goaltenders. Bob Boughner, on the other hand, needs to be fired and recruits a real coach with characteristics like Greg Berube. Folks, you can't make these up. Jerk.
So here, let me get into this. Now, first things first, let me know if you hear this. Did you hear that?
I heard like a click.
That is me opening my knife. I'm ready to poke some holes in this comment.
You about to cut a bitch?
Yeah. Can you read this comment? Can you read this comment for me, sentence by sentence, please?
This is why we should have terminated Jones' contract, stuck with Dell, and
Well-
recruited a new goalie.
Okay, so first of all, you can't terminate somebody's contract unless it's a mutual termination. Now, I don't know about you. Martin Jones could be the worst goalie in the history of life. Chief is
Some believe that, but go ahead.
Chief is not. He's got 4 years left on his contract. Okay, he's not walking away from $24 million just for the hell of it. Nobody is.
Yeah.
Should have kept Dell. Dell signed as the third string goalie on Toronto and got claimed off of waivers by the Devils. And guess what? He's now their third string goalie. And you said draft a young or Jones is past his prime. Is that what you said?
Well, it was terminate Jones' contract, stick with Dell, recruit a new goalie.
Hello, Alexei Melnichuk.
Mhm.
He's not ready yet, but he's gonna get there.
All right. Jones is past his prime, and Dubnyk is too.
Okay, that's probably the most logical thing about this tirade.
I don't know. Jones is like what, 31? Isn't that kind of like for a goalie, like right about dead?
Yes.
Center?
Well, so that's the thing. Is 31 is it's you're right in the sweet spot for a goalie, you know. But okay, Jones is past his prime at 31, but we should have kept Dell. Would you like to take a guess as to how old Aaron Dell is? 31. So, well, you got one 31-year-old goalie who's past their prime, but you got another 31-year-old goalie who's worth re-signing and building your team around.
Dude, absolutely. But my favorite part is offense and defense is solid. What?
I think I think Eric Carlson's dash 8 would beg to differ.
And then Boughner needs to be fired. Recruit a real coach like Craig Berube. Oh,
So-
my God.
Say what you want about who's a better coach, who's a worse coach, who's a good coach or bad coach. Bob Boughner is a head coach in the NHL. Therefore, he is a real coach.
Last I looked.
That's what I'm saying. You know, you can be a good podcaster like us, or you can be a bad podcaster. You're still a podcaster.
Yeah.
Just saying.
You can be Adidas or you can be DH Gate.
I'm not. If you want to know what I was going to say after that, find us on Discord.
Hey now. That's probably a good out on this. So I think that about wraps things up here for episode 118. We thank you so much for joining us on this one. Had a lot of fun. A lot of stuff to get into. You know, for a week that only had 2 games in it, there was a lot of good stuff to get into. So if you missed anything, just to let you know, we had some recent articles on tealtownusa.com, including our exclusive about the Fanatics no longer operating the Sharks store at SAP or their merchandise kiosks. Again, look at SJ Team Shop for all your Sharks apparel, jerseys, tchotchkes, as Jerk likes. Look for SJ Team Shop to provide all those. Although Jerk will tell you they better up their pin game, is what we're saying.
Yes, as a pin collector, I think every team in the NHL needs to update their pin game, get more fun, more variety, better options. And you know what? I've got an army of 100 old ladies who agree with me. So
We also had an article up there about Drew Remenda. Remember, we did talk to him about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, somewhere in that neighborhood. So go check out that interview. He told a lot of fun stories, including how quick he would return to San Jose if afforded the opportunity. We talked to Ted Ramey about the Sharks Audio Network, Brody Brazil with the Sharks preview, and Jonathan Becker, president of the Sharks, talking about the Downtown West development and how that's going to impact SAP Center. We also have a brand new. Shh. There's a team that plays hockey in San Jose, and they are not the Sharks.
Ooh.
Barracuda.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the San Jose Barracuda, and we've got a brand new In the Reef from my buddy Kevin Lacey that's going to drop tomorrow morning. He's going to tell you all about what's happening with the San Jose Barracuda. Again, remember, they did have to stop a game after 2 periods last night due to a positive COVID test. We'll see how that works out for them, but they are supposed to be going. So we'll see what happens there. Check that out. Should come out tomorrow morning if you're listening to this live. Hockey Jerk.
Yes.
I need to ask you a question.
Ask away, my friend.
What if it was purple? Ah!
That is the age-old question. I do want to know. So, if you also would like to know what if it was purple, find me on Twitter at hockey_jerk. There is no reason that you shouldn't be following me. That's it. I mean, you want to laugh, you want to cry, you want to be informed. That's the place to be.
When does the subscription kick in?
You know what? I'm doing a shortened season promo.
Right.
You can get in for free this season only, but you are required to like at least one of my tweets per day. I don't make the rules. So
sounds like you do, but okay.
Yeah, hockey_jerk. Again, if you want to cry, if you want to laugh, you want to be informed, you want to have a good time, that's the place to go. There's really nothing else to say about it. Twitter is a disaster of a place sometimes, and we're just here to try and make it better.
Hear me out. The Jim Purpital. No?
I wanted to see how long I could be quiet.
I'm AJ_strong on all the social media stuff, but look, it's all about Teal Town, USA, so do us a favor, if you will, please. Hit that subscribe button while you are here on the YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those fun places. Remember, if you ever miss a show and would like to try to catch up on what you missed, you can find our content on your favorite podcatcher, no matter what it is, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, any of those. Hey, do us a favor. Throw up 5 stars. Leave us a nice review. We'd certainly appreciate it. You can always find everything at tealtownusa.com. And so with that, I think it's about time to wrap up show 118 here. Throw us that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe. Hit the notification to know every single time we go live. And so with that, boy, are we going to miss you guys for like a week? Is that what the deal is here? So we got no games Monday. We got no games Wednesday. So next Friday and Saturday against Anaheim. So you can look forward to Teal Town After Dark, Puck Guy, and whoever is joining the panel those nights. So I guess that'll be the next time we see you, unless some interesting news drops. And this is the Sharks, people. It seems like interesting news is dropping every other day sometimes. So we look forward to it. Thanks for joining episode 118 of the Pucknologists here on Teal Town, USA. We will see you next Sunday night, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. We out.